Tensions in the Middle East have escalated dramatically as Iran and its powerful regional ally Hezbollah launched coordinated attacks against Israel, triggering a major military confrontation that has sent shockwaves across the region. The latest wave of hostilities has involved rockets, drones, and ballistic missiles, forcing millions of civilians into shelters while Israel responded with heavy airstrikes across Lebanon. The attacks began with a large-scale rocket barrage launched from southern Lebanon by Hezbollah. Israeli military officials said roughly 200 rockets were fired overnight toward northern Israel, marking one of the largest strikes since the conflict intensified earlier this month. Sirens echoed across northern Israel, including in the cities of Haifa and across the Upper Galilee region. Residents rushed into bomb shelters as air defense systems activated to intercept the incoming rockets. Interceptions lit up the night sky with explosions as Israel's Iron Dome and other defense systems worked to neutralize the threat. The barrage came in waves beginning in the evening and continuing into the early hours of the following day. Hezbollah also deployed drones as part of the attack, targeting Israeli communities across the north. Emergency services reported that while most rockets were intercepted or landed in open areas, some caused damage to homes and infrastructure. A number of civilians were treated for injuries caused by shattered glass, debris, and panic during the attacks. In one town in northern Israel, a missile strike caused severe destruction to homes and vehicles. Emergency responders arrived quickly at the scene, providing assistance to residents and assessing the damage. Authorities reported that dozens of people suffered minor injuries and several were treated for shock following the explosions. At the same time, Israel detected additional threats coming from Iran. Ballistic missiles launched toward Israeli territory triggered nationwide alerts as the country's defense systems moved to intercept them. Sirens were heard not only in the north, but also in areas deeper inside Israel, including communities far from the Lebanese border. Military officials said that most of the Iranian missiles were intercepted before reaching their targets.
However, some impacts were reported and explosions were heard in several locations. Videos circulating online appeared to show damage to streets and buildings following missile impacts in central Israel. One unverified video allegedly showed a large crater carved into a street in Tel Aviv after a missile strike, with nearby buildings suffering heavy structural damage.
Social media reactions quickly spread across the region, reflecting the shock and fear felt by civilians witnessing the attacks. Some Israeli citizens expressed anger at the government over the scale of the assault. One Israeli national wrote on social media that the government had turned Tel Aviv into something resembling a war zone. The coordinated nature of the attacks drew immediate attention from military analysts. The simultaneous launches of rockets from Lebanon and missiles from Iran suggested a level of strategic coordination that signaled a dangerous escalation in the ongoing conflict. Experts say the operation reflects a broader strategy aimed at overwhelming Israel's air defense systems by attacking from multiple directions at once. By combining short-range rockets from Lebanon with long-range ballistic missiles from Iran, the attackers created a multi-layered threat that forced Israel to respond across several fronts simultaneously. The escalation follows the outbreak of a broader regional conflict between Israel and Iran earlier in 2026. The war intensified after Israeli and U.S. strikes targeted Iranian military infrastructure, leading to a widening confrontation across the Middle East. Following those strikes, Iran and its allied militias launched retaliatory attacks against Israeli targets and Western military installations across the region. Hezbollah soon joined the conflict, opening a new front along Israel's northern border. Since then, the Israel-Lebanon border has become one of the most volatile flashpoints in the region.
The latest barrage by Hezbollah is widely seen as the group's most significant attack since the current phase of the conflict began. Hezbollah has claimed that its strikes targeted Israeli military installations and strategic infrastructure in northern Israel. According to statements released by the group, the attacks were intended to demonstrate both military capability and solidarity with Iran.
The operation reportedly began around 8 p.m. local time when Hezbollah launched approximately 100 rockets from southern Lebanon. The group continued firing throughout the night, eventually reaching an estimated total of about 200 rockets and dozens of drones. Some of the rockets triggered warning sirens as far as 50 kilometers from the Lebanese border. Residents in cities including Haifa and surrounding towns spent hours in shelters as explosions echoed across the region. Despite the scale of the assault, Israeli officials said the majority of incoming projectiles were intercepted by air defense systems. Nevertheless, fragments from intercepted missiles fell across several communities, causing additional damage. In one community, a direct missile hit destroyed a home. Fortunately, an elderly woman and her caregiver were inside a reinforced safe room and survived without injury. Emergency responders reported that 2 people were lightly injured during the attacks, while many others required treatment for anxiety and shock. Israeli authorities also reported explosions in other areas, including settlements in northern Israel, where rocket fragments struck open ground. Drone infiltration alerts were also triggered in the Golan Heights after an unidentified aerial object was detected entering Israeli airspace. Meanwhile, sirens sounded in border towns such as Metula as authorities warned residents to remain in shelters until the threat had passed.
Following the attacks, the Israeli military announced that it was safe for civilians to leave shelters after confirming that the immediate danger had subsided. However, the calm was short-lived. Israel quickly launched a powerful retaliatory campaign against Hezbollah targets across Lebanon.
The Israeli Air Force carried out several waves of airstrikes on what it described as Hezbollah infrastructure in Beirut and southern Lebanon. According to Israeli military officials, the strikes targeted command centers and operational hubs used by Hezbollah to coordinate attacks against Israel. Military statements said several command facilities were destroyed during the operation. The Israeli Defense Forces also reported that dozens of rocket launchers were struck as part of the campaign. Israeli officials described the strikes as a direct response to Hezbollah's rocket attacks and warned that further aggression would lead to even stronger military action. The airstrikes hit several areas of Lebanon, including parts of Beirut that are considered strongholds of Hezbollah. Lebanon's health authorities reported casualties following the Israeli bombardment. According to government officials in Lebanon, at least 12 people were killed in overnight strikes. The conflict has also caused widespread displacement across Lebanon. Hundreds of thousands of residents have fled their homes as Israeli airstrikes continue to target Hezbollah positions across the country. Reports indicate that more than 800,000 people have been displaced since the escalation began, creating a growing humanitarian crisis. International organizations have warned that the situation could deteriorate further if the fighting continues. Meanwhile, Israeli leaders have signaled that the country is prepared for a prolonged confrontation. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who currently leads the Israeli government, has taken a firm stance against Iran and Hezbollah. In recent remarks, he warned that Israel would continue its military campaign until it neutralizes what it considers existential threats posed by Iran and its allied militias. Israeli officials say their goal is to weaken Hezbollah's military capabilities and prevent future attacks on Israeli territory. Defense officials have also warned that if Hezbollah continues firing rockets, Israel may expand its military operations further into Lebanon. The escalating confrontation has raised fears of a wider regional war. Analysts warn that continued attacks by Iran-backed groups could draw additional countries into the conflict. Iran's involvement in the attacks has added another layer of complexity to the situation. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps reportedly launched missiles toward Israel during the coordinated assault with Hezbollah. This development has reinforced concerns among international observers that the conflict could evolve into a direct confrontation between Israel and Iran. The situation has already triggered diplomatic reactions from governments around the world. Several countries have called for immediate de-escalation and renewed diplomatic efforts to prevent the conflict from spreading. The United Nations has urged all sides to protect civilians and adhere to international humanitarian law. However, the scale and intensity of the latest attacks suggests that the confrontation may continue for some time. Military experts say the coordinated missile and rocket assaults represent a new phase in the conflict, one in which Iran and Hezbollah are increasingly acting as a unified front against Israel. Analysts describe the strategy as a parallel missile war designed to place Israel under pressure from multiple directions simultaneously. The aim appears to be both military and psychological, to inflict damage while demonstrating the ability to strike Israel across multiple regions at once. For civilians across Israel and Lebanon, the consequences have been immediate and devastating. In Israel, families have spent hours in bomb shelters while emergency services remain on high alert. In Lebanon, entire communities have been forced to evacuate amid fears of further Israeli strikes. As rockets and missiles continue to cross borders, the conflict shows little sign of slowing. The coming days will likely determine whether the region moves toward de-escalation or slides deeper into a broader war that could reshape the balance of power across the Middle East.